Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
that.
yours could be a bit close there, Troy.
Yeah.
Well, they normally bellow, but normally I think about equal, aren't they? Yeah, got them about there. That should do the job, right? Because there's nothing worse having to keep turning the volume switch up and down
No.
on the system. So it should be.
Cheap. That's not cheap, though. It's not.
I'll get it for free.
And welcome to the Gladiators of Sport with Mr. Peak blowing his nose. To the number 19 edition, Troy and Peter, and the bellowing big balloon, Mr. Peak. Good afternoon to you all. And may I say, just to kick it off, Troy and Peter, the Olympics haven't, imploded on themselves. We've had a bit of green in the pool, but other than that, I believe, Peter, it hasn't been too bad.
Yeah, no, the show's rolled on as we predicted.
As we predicted, the three of us, but the large
Yeah.
green blimp in the middle there.
The alarmist.
The alarmist. As I said, all the people in the media have built it up to be some big catastrophe. But alas, Mr. Peak, the show is still going.
Yes, and the reason why it is, Phil, is because the various federations involved in sport have been able to take control of the sport away from the defective local government and government agencies of South America and Brazil down there who
Peter, he still cannot agree that it's not too
It's
bad.
always a disclaimer, isn't it?
They still had to build the joints, Troy, didn't they? The federations aren't there knocking the bricks together, are they?
Good afternoon to you,
And
Phil. Good
after you.
afternoon, Peter, and good afternoon, Stephen.
Welcome.
Yes.
Sorry to,
mate,
completely stuff the
No,
start.
it was actually a great way to start the show.
Thank you.
It's an improvement on last week, I've got to say. But
Well, I
yeah.
wanted Mr. Peak to blow his nose closer to the microphone, so
But
everybody.
the green algae are a major concern for our diving.
So the Arthur Fonzarelli Award, I was wrong this week.
Yeah, the
Goes to Stephen James George Peak.
I couldn't do it.
Well, I haven't been wrong about anything, actually, at this point in time to do
for
with the Olympic
God's
Games,
sake.
because there was another shooting into a journalist's box at the
Bus.
Olympics. There was a shooting. A
Oh,
bullet
yeah.
was wandering around and landed on the floor.
Wandered.
There's been other robbings that take place around the village centre, and of course,
Yeah, there's a
they
carjacking
couldn't
in Melbourne yesterday too, but
No, I understand that, but we've got something like 3,000 of the best athletes in the world in the one place at the one time right now, and they deserve army protection, which they have got. They've brought in troops to surround the Olympic Village area to make sure there's no criminal activity or trouble that can cause any condemnation or problems to the not condemnation, that's not the word I'm looking for. I don't even think there is such a word, but problems for the Olympians as they go through 2 weeks worth of trying to put their best foot forward on the podiums in all the sports at the best in time. Now, for those who have just got to us at this point in time, we've got some poor news in the women's swimming event that happened about 2 hours ago. The Campbell sisters have been beaten. It's most unfortunate. Kate and Bronte went out first and second favourites in the women's 100-metre freestyle, and unfortunately for Kate, she seemed to get caught on the blocks. She was rolling backwards, they reckon, when the bell went off. She had a back foot planted on that back part of the podium, the rostrum that they stand on, and was off balance when she went in. She was the last one in the pool. She then, probably a bit of panic set in, where she went to the front probably too early and was at the front touching at the 50-metre mark, coming back, and she was still in gold or silver medal contention with 20 metres to go. But oh my golly, the American 16-year-old, the young girl there, none other than, if you could just please let me get her name for you, and I can't find it at the moment. I've forgotten it, but Penny Olkasek of Canada drew equal with the American champion, 16-year-old girl who's 100 to 1, and Monica of the USA gets up and they win the gold with and it was a draw. It was a draw, so they both get gold medals.
Same time.
When they drew.
Yeah, there's no count back.
There's no count back or nothing. They both hit the wall at the same time, and Sarah Sostrom of Sweden, she finished third in that event. Bronte Campbell fourth, Kate Campbell sixth. And it was very unfortunate. It just goes to show, as one of our other swimmers, male swimmers in one of his heats who didn't make the final, just said this is a sport of margins, and the margins are extremely slim. There's inches between devastation and victory, and that's what you're faced with in all of the circumstances. Peter, did you see any of that?
No, I didn't see it, but I heard about it. But very disappointing. But some you pencil in and you tick for a medal, don't come off, and then you get a guy like Cole Chalmers come in and win the blue ribbon event and surprise you and get one that you didn't think you were going to get. So, it evens out sometimes.
Troy?
Yeah, absolutely, Coco. Couldn't agree with you more. The Cole Chalmers story, that'll be one for the ages, and also Phelps.
Yes.
What an absolute superstar.
He won another one this morning.
He did this morning.
Incredible.
200-metre individual medley, and what an effort that was. He was pretty well much dictated terms, probably from about the 40-metre mark, just before the first wall, when he was, I think, second or equal first, and from then on, he destroyed that field. That was an amazing performance. And the freestyle at the finish, well, that was just cream on top. He obliterated the field big time there. But not only that, Lochte and a couple of the other favourites in that race were also blown out of the water. Hajino of Japan came through, and Sun Wang of China, they were, 50 to 100 to 1 pops to get medals, have been able again to not be under as much pressure, I suppose. Lochte is the world champion, the Olympic champion, and was unable. He's never beaten Phelps. Phelps turns up at the Olympics. For him, the Peter Cacodus theory works, because he turns up the Olympics and he wins every time he steps out there. But outside of the Olympics, Lochte's got the records and the world records and the championships elsewhere. So it's a mighty performance.
Phelps is a man who would be could walk in the room of the ancient Greek legend Olympiads and sip of wine. He's of that calibre. He
Sip of wine?
Produces when it counts.
What's the
Big,
sip of
big.
wine?
I'm saying he could walk in the room and have a glass of wine with the ancient Olympiads, the Greeks.
Yeah, okay.
And
well, no one's going to deny that.
He's of that calibre. He produces when it counts.
Well,
He's a man of my type of athlete.
He produces at the Olympic Games. He's the greatest Olympic Games athlete.
You know what I mean?
In the
I
history.
do.
We wild have an argument about this, because I agree that he's the greatest Olympic Games athlete of all time, right? But, and I've said this again, that athletes look at these situations differently to the rest of the public, who are ignorant of their sport for most of the 4 years before the Olympics and don't take any notice when the World Games are on and other pursuits around the globe, where athletes themselves, they make judgments about who's the best and who isn't the best and all the rest of it, different to what the general public sometimes do, Troy.
Yes, absolutely, Stephen. It's all subjective, really, isn't it, in the different disciplines that is world sport.
Yeah, it is, but I can say this, that I will adhere to expert evidence at all times. At all times, expert evidence.
Well, I'm an expert, and I'm telling you the wheels haven't fallen off.
A fellow swimmer or athlete or whatever comes out and says this man is the greatest ever, or he's top notch or whatever, I will adhere to what they generally say. I'll get more than one opinion. I'll get across the board.
Well,
opinions.
who are your experts, Mr. Peake, that you actually take some notice of? Name names.
Experts in sports.
Name names.
In sports.
Name names.
Well,
Bruce McAvaney.
Bruce McAvaney is not an
Bruce
expert. He's an
McAvaney.
analyst. He's a
I'm
commentator
asking, is
and
that
an
one
analyst.
of them?
Well,
Is
he's
that
not an
one of
expert
them?
anyway.
Not happy with him. Not happy with him at the moment.
No, why?
Well, I know this is a sports show, but on a political level, he's upset the Greek community.
Oh, has he?
Him and Andrew Gaze this week greatly by with the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia when they walked out. He mentioned Alexander the Great and King Philip and said that they were ancient warriors of their country, and which is extremely disappointing, inaccurate, historically inaccurate, for a man of his stature.
Get that wrong.
Very, very, very surprising. Apparently, his excuse is that they were reading off a script, but I know that the heads of the Greek community have put some long letters together and demanding an extraction and a retraction, an apology.
Yeah.
So it's been a big week in that way. It's really, obviously you guys aren't as sensitive to it, but being of Greek extraction,
I can understand.
putting Alexander the Great and King Philip to to a country that's been
Macedonia.
around for 20 seconds is phenomenal for us. But anyway,
okay.
so when you mentioned McAvaney, just triggered me
Oh,
off.
well, there you go.
So
All
it
right,
hasn't been a good name in our household this week.
So what you're saying is he got incorrect was historical basis of those members of royalty and historical icons, that he misplaced comment in relation to those.
Correct.
An ethnic basis
That
took place.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
and
you're
it is.
entitled to be offended by that.
Well,
I'm
Quite
offended.
entitled to be, and
anyway, I know it's a sports show.
No, but that's fair. No, all right. Now,
It involves sport.
it was a big week in the football.
Yeah, have we finished with the Olympic Games yet?
Yeah, I've had enough of that.
Just a quick one, Phil. Just
Go,
on
Troy.
Kyle Chalmers.
Chambers, yeah.
Yeah.
Chalmers.
Thank you, Troy.
CHALMERS.
See, I think we should bring that back when we're reading out the football teams,
Do you
Troy,
know-
like we used
Do
to.
you know what the international journalist is calling his nickname? They're saying no dramas, Chalmers.
Oh, we probably
That's
use
what
no
they're
dramas.
That's from England, America, everywhere. So
Unlike
now I do say
drama,
this.
drama
let me
personified peak.
make a comment about pronunciation of sports names and other names. Brett Phillips
Names
the
in
other
general,
night
Mr. Peak.
on SE 1116 on the Sports Jukebox show said you could get 200 tennis players' names, men and women, and give them to 10 different sports tennis journalists, and they will pronounce that name 10 different ways.
Well, but it's only correctly
just,
once.
Could I just butt in?
Yeah, but.
And I
Hey, butt
usually
in.
don't. But Chalmers and Chambers.
I said Chalmers. No, I said Chalmers.
Oh, you said
And
Chambers.
I said Chalmers. No dramas, Chalmers.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
before that, you said Chambers.
Chambers.
And he said
No,
Chambers.
I didn't say Chambers. I said Chalmers.
That's where you go with your barrister, isn't it? Chambers.
No,
Well,
because I
Troy,
said the journalist
let me
would
tell
say
you,
no
we're
dramas,
on the
Chalmers.
TV here,
Yeah, I understand.
so
that,
don't worry, Troy. The
Yeah, yeah.
facts are in the machine.
That's right.
Okay.
We'll go back to
Yeah,
the
we can go
tape.
back
We'll
to
go
the tape.
back to the tape.
Go to the video.
You might have to
Look, all I was.
might have to do another half of Fontarelli.
Anyway, keep going, Troy. About Chalmers.
Yeah, about Brett Chalmers, who's the
Right.
father
Yes.
of Kyle Chalmers.
Yes.
Was he the
Now,
ruckman? Sorry,
He was Coco.
He was a ruckman.
He played for Port Adelaide and Adelaide. And
Correct.
Peaky's got some interesting information right in front of him, which hopefully he can read for us.
Yeah.
Well, I won't read from it, but I'll tell you that Brett Chalmers at the time created headlines in the VFL AFL because back in 1989 he wanted to play for Collingwood in the VFL and wrote letters to all of the other clubs telling them not to pick him in the draft because he wouldn't go anywhere unless it was Collingwood. Now, one thing you never do was put in writing to start off with, something like that, because it's a direct breach of the draft rules, per se. And he got rubbed out by the VFL at that point in time. He was fined $30,000. He was banned from playing for Collingwood for 3 years. Then he went back to the Sandful because he wanted to play for anyone else and waited until whenever Adelaide came into the competition. He played 4 seasons at Adelaide and 2 at Port Adelaide. So he had 6 years in the number one competition in the country and the rest of his career in the Sandful. So I don't know whether he was poorly advised at the time or whatever happened, but it was massive news. But one thing you don't do, you cannot breach the draft rules, and putting it in writing like that, by golly, that is a massive error. So he probably killed off any chance of ever getting to Collingwood. He wanted to get there, but where are the lawyers, managers and accountants at the time? This is, again, another situation where it appears that players have gone on a frolic of their own without seeking professional advice. And I don't know that for sure, Mr. Chalmers, but I believe that that's probably what happened because you wouldn't make that error in a month of Sundays.
I was just probably saying that he'd be very proud of his son, what he's done in the pool and what he's achieved for Australia. But let's go down negativity street.
Yeah.
Well, look, I do agree with Troy there that he would be very proud.
Actually,
I hope that is on film.
Well,
You do
yeah,
agree
it's
with
on
Troy.
Yeah.
I do agree with Troy on that basis. That this
maybe
kid,
we should get Mr. Peak to wear black every week.
Now, this kid has come
like
out of
the Grim
nowhere.
Reaper.
He
He
was
could be Dr. Death.
Right, next week I'll try and find some black. I'll come to the show dressed in
You
black.
could be the
Right?
Johnny Cash of the podcast.
The cowboy hat, yeah.
But no,
And the
look,
cowboy, we can get him off Mark. The cowboy
You've
boots.
got to remember that not everything going on in the world is pleasant, and that there has to be someone who has to present what's going on.
Right.
The
Well, let's
unnecessary
talk
aspects,
about some pleasant
the
things.
unfortunate aspects. Well, I did mention even this week. I thought that just quickly, I thought that Sun Yang was pretty poorly dealt with. I believe by a number of people, given what his abnormality was in 2013. No one looks at the facts and goes back and say, what did this kid do to get a 3-month suspension? He took some substance for a heart palpitation that the doctor prescribed, and the substance was then downgraded by WADA to not even a stimulant, but a heart protection, still banned, but put down as a modulator basis, which is one of the lowest penalties. And WADA don't hand out 3-month penalties unless you're virtually close to being innocent.
I feel like I'm on an episode of VR.
Yeah.
For crying out, it's a modulator, not a stimulator now. It's not a stimulating.
Well, you know all about that, the difference between a stimulator and a modulator.
Of course I would
Not in a sporting pursuit, but anyway.
Well, we knew it was going to go there.
Some good news, Phil.
Some good news.
Thank you
So
very much.
let's do a bit of research before we start to bag the living daylights out of someone and start having the Chinese.
Well, we don't need to do that
We've got
with you because
business
it's not
people in
that
China at the
difficult.
moment who are being verbally attacked by Chinese associates, calling them everything under the sun after those comments were made. Now,
Okay,
you
right.
don't want to see anyone losing grain sales, do you?
I'd like to talk about football.
Yeah, some footy.
Right, I'm going to say 3 or 4 teams, and we'll see how we go. Richmond beat Collingwood. Was that a surprise, Troy?
Richmond
From
getting
last
over
week.
Collingwood. Well, to most it was a
I
surprise.
think Tony Shebeki tipped
he
Richmond,
certainly did.
and I think Dr. Death there picked Collingwood.
Dr. Death.
I did go for Collingwood. Yep.
Yep.
Last week. I
Okay.
thought that they would have been wanting to finish the season off on a high, but their forward line operates like
Molasses?
Well, no, the opposite. It's
Oh,
as if you're crawling
sorry,
through,
Richmond.
trying to walk through or run through wet cement.
Right.
And haven't we all done that on a regular basis?
All right.
Mason,
That wet cement that can be tough,
it
Coker.
can be very tough going.
All right.
Mason Cox got 6 possessions. They dropped Cloak, who took 9 marks and got the ball at least 11 or 12 times. The bloke who got half that and didn't, I think, kick 1 goal and didn't lay a tackle, the big American guy at full forward, he's starting to, you know what, I've got a new name for him, the Statue of Liberty, because he doesn't move around much.
Yeah.
And he's starting to
puts
look...
his hand up and catches the ball, eh?
Well, he's not doing that either. He didn't, I don't think he took more than 2 marks. And the marks he didn't take are on his chest.
All
He
right.
doesn't. That's one thing he does.
Were you surprised, Peter, that Melbourne beat Hawthorn?
Look, obviously it was a surprising result. Hawthorn were favourites, but if you look over the last 3 to 4 years, Clarkson's dropped a game in around this round, either this round or the round before. So and hasn't hurt his chances of winning premierships.
You saying he was
So-
tanking, Peter?
Definitely not. But I think he's mirrored the last 3 years in terms of what they've performed or what they've done. They've dropped a game, and it gives him some nice ammunition just going to the finals. On the other side, though, they've put themselves in a bit of pressure. They've got the worst percentage of the other teams in the top 4, and if they drop another game, they're in trouble of dropping out of the top 4 altogether. So the downside of that is they really got to make sure they don't drop another one, because if the other teams keep winning, they could find themselves out of the top 4.
All right, now, Mr. Peake, one for you. The Crows absolutely poleaxed the Brisbane Lions.
Well, there's nothing surprising about that because
Now, I think, Troy,
Brisbane are on their knees.
you said 100. Did you say over 100 points?
Oh, I think I was around the mark.
It was a big margin.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we all tipped a big win
Did
there.
we?
I mean,
Did
that's-
you?
Yeah, of course I did. And how could you possibly... how could anybody see Brisbane making any imprint on Adelaide?
No,
Adelaide
no.
walked
Well,
through
it
them like
wasn't a bad shellacking.
Well, they walked through them like a Panzer division through Frank's pastisserie, let's face it, because Brisbane down on their knees at this point in time. They have had some... Look, Mark Fine pointed out last night, over the years they had some good draft picks, but they just can't get it to work. They can't get it all together. And they've had some good pickups from other clubs. And
Well-
they seem to have drifted off a bit.
They put their hand up, standard AFL, non-traditional football market. They have a couple of bad years, and all of a sudden now the priority pick's going their way.
Has that been decided?
They've lost 3 premierships. They've won 3 premierships in the last 12 years, but now all of a sudden they're going to get. Looks like they're putting their hand up for a priority pick. So if they get it again, I won't be happy.
Right.
Has it been
Oh,
decided?
my
Why
hatred
hasn't
to
it
the
been decided?
AFL will go another level.
Now, Troy, I'm going to ask
Because
you
I'm not
this,
happy.
because you're the only rational one of the 4 of us on this game,
I'll have to make a comment about that in a minute.
that St Kilda beat Carlton.
St Kilda.
Beat Carlton
Yep.
by
Put it on him, Phil.
71 points.
Tremendous performance by the Saints.
Now, I thought,
Underestimated the Saints.
obviously,
Owning up to it.
yeah.
Yep. It's good
But
to,
don't you
good to
speak.
see.
You two aren't allowed to speak.
Owning up to it, Phil.
Yeah. So do you think it was surprising the margin? And
I was
so
actually blown
for a
away
change,
by,
He would have
St Kilda actually kicked a reasonable amount of goals.
I was
'cause they
blown
only
away
kicked-
by the margin.
1908.
Yeah.
Bruce, Membry, outstanding. They found the big sticks.
Excuse me, sorry. I'm
He's laughing at me because
And
I,
you can see bags.
And this
That's
bloke,
why I
this
asked
bloke's
you,
got
Troy.
the temerity to have a crack at me when I pick him up. He's kidding himself, this bloke.
That's why I asked you, Troy,
Not
because
really.
these two people can't have. They would just be frothing about St Kilda
Well, I
winning
think
by
Coco,
7 points.
he loves his Saints,
Totally.
but he knows the Saints. He knows their strengths, he knows their weaknesses. But
No, he thinks,
maybe
he
Huey
thinks he knows
in the
their
middle there,
weaknesses.
well,
Dr. Death.
not so much.
And that, look,
But I've got to give St Kilda absolute credit.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a very close game. I thought Carlton maybe by 1 or 2
I
goals.
think he said 3, I think.
Well, close enough. 1, 2, 3.
He's
Close
in the
enough.
He did, he
ballpark.
said
Yeah,
3.
you're in the market.
So,
but
yeah.
not
so
70.
The Saints have got
Not
a lot to look forward to for next year. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
not 10 goals out of the way though. As in St Kilda winning by 10.
Yeah, look,
than
I
losing
think
by
most St
2 or
Kilda
3.
supporters, if you ask them and they were genuine,
Yeah.
not this bloke,
No,
but if
no,
you
but
ask,
Ask me.
No.
would you have said a 10-goal margin against Carlton?
No, I wouldn't have.
Thank you very
I
much.
was nervous. I was nervous before the
in
game.
defence of Troy, I think a lot of people had the theory that we can't play out of Etihad. Carlton have put in some really good
Yes,
performances,
yeah.
Yeah.
so it was really a result out
Good
of
point.
the blue. So
Righto. And
No,
now.
I didn't expect that scoreline.
No.
I thought, I was worried. I thought if we can start all right and hang in there till half time, we'd outrun them because they'd had some really tough games, and I thought we'd be able to do that because our track record on the MCG at the moment is pretty good. We flogged Collingwood there in round 2, I think it was, or round 3. And I thought, well, they're not worried about that. But the bonus last week was Jade Gresham in the middle.
Oh.
First-year player. I gave him 3 votes. He got about 14 hard balls out of there, and mainly in the second quarter that set up the win. He set the win up. He deserved 3 votes.
He's had an outstanding year for a first-year player, an inspired pick in the draft.
in
There's
my
no doubt about it.
in my lifetime, going from about 78 onwards, I don't think I've seen a better first 15 games at my club in my time in football.
Really?
I know
That's a
young
big
boys.
statement.
I saw Harvey at his first season. I saw. Look,
Yeah,
I know
he played
football
4 games
now.
in his first
I
season.
know football now as young boys are developed. They're set up to get into the game quicker than probably they did in the old days. The old days,
Well,
they'd start them off in the back pocket or the forward
I'll
pocket.
give you an example of that,
But
yep.
this kid is extremely special. He's one out of the box for me.
Well, I'll go back
One
a
out
bit
of the
further
box.
than you, Peter, and I've got to go back to 1963 to Carl Dittrich's first year to be able to say someone's had a better first year or an equal of that. What Gresham's done at St Kilda, what Dittrich did at St Kilda 63. Because he assisted them in getting into a final series
Well,
in
yeah.
his first year, big time. You know,
I'll
he
take-
pushed on the ground his first game.
Take that on board. It was before my time, but
No, before your time.
I take
yeah.
it on board.
But in
yeah.
my time, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm older than everyone.
see, the 4 of us weren't born before then.
Yeah, that's okay. But look, Carlton, they're a bit worn out. They're probably they got Brisbane up at Brisbane this week, and they're no certainties to win that because they looked tired to me. They looked as if they were arrow-eyed at times.
Really?
And
You,
St
you
Kilda
actually
running
think
through
that
them.
Brisbane have got a chance against
They've got a
Carlton?
big chance, and when we mention that later on, a big
you're
Just,
tripping.
just quickly, Phil, on a game that actually mattered.
Yeah.
The Bulldogs up
Well, I went
against
to
the
that,
Kangas
Troy.
last
Oh!
week, and you're in attendance.
I did go, but I thought I
An
felt
absorbing battle.
it was very scrappy though, Troy. It wasn't good football.
It wasn't
It was
great
very
football,
grungy football.
but there was plenty at stake.
There was, yes, and it was a good game, but it was low scoring and
Yeah, but it was tough and
yeah, very tough
in
yeah,
the clinches, and there was only 3 goals in it for most of
No,
the game.
Yep.
And the Bulldogs undermanned,
Yep, they did very well,
and
played
they
well.
performed
Yeah.
admirably. And,
yeah.
Luke Beveridge,
It was battle of the backlines.
it was a battle of the half-back lines. You're absolutely
Yeah,
right, Phil.
and that was good. It was good footy.
Bonampelli again, the cream rises to the top, outstanding. Joe Hannison, he was brilliant off the half-back line, gave him
brilliant.
plenty of run and gun.
Yep.
There's a lot to look
Very
forward to, I think, in the next couple of games for the Dogs. And I think if they pinch a final, I think
Yep.
most Bulldog supporters will
Be
be happy
happy.
with that. But
Yep.
watch out for the Bulldogs next year.
Yeah, well,
Very-
that's a good point.
Very
for
proud of their performance.
Yeah,
It was
well, for
magnificent.
tonight, gentlemen and Bulldogs are playing Collingwood. Now, what do you think of? I see in the paper today that our friend Nathan Buckley's a bit under
pressure.
the pressure.
David King's put him under a bit of pressure there. But, I mean, I
stop
believe
looking
the
at
jury's still out. He's only given him 10 games. So I don't know about that. Fair enough. He and Moldhouse are at loggerheads about team rebuilding and what's happened, the restructure of that side.
But Moldhouse isn't there. How would he know?
No, but he would know because he should be in the game. I mean, he's 61 years of age. In America, in the NFL, they coach till they're 75. He's a man who's got enormous coaching skills and a lot to give to the game. And what's he doing? He's got to do a TV show.
He's on 3AW.
He's doing The Recruit on Foxtel.
That's right, he is too.
With Ben
have you watched? Have you watched that show?
I have.
Absolute
Is it? I haven't watched it. Is it good?
Thought he had his time.
Or is it?
Oh, it serves a purpose, Phil.
Does it?
I do agree with Stephen that he needs to be, I think, in football in some
way.
type of capacity.
Yeah.
Some type of capacity
Yeah,
because.
Sorry.
No, maybe behind the scenes, Coco.
I was going to ask: is he a type of character that can actually put his ego aside and actually
that's the question.
Start working in a team instead of I?
Well, that's the question you need to ask.
People that have worked with,
but his IP, his intellectual property, is a gold mine.
He's one of the great coaches. But
Troy, we have the
could
same
he work
problem.
in that sort of?
We have the same problem, Peter, don't we?
What's that?
Working with an I instead of a we.
Exactly. So they're
Phil, of all the I've known you, 5 or 6 years now. That's probably the most poetic
profound
and real life and straight to the point and correct thing you have ever said, my friend. So I take my hat off to you. If I had a hat, magnificent.
Well, we'll take the cowboy hat off his noggin. Do you think we can get a hat big enough for him next week? A black hat?
I've got a Stetson in back at my place. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to put it on this show.
It wouldn't be a 10-gallon hat, it'd be a 20-gallon hat, wouldn't it? Fit on your noggin.
It would suit him instead. He'd look
I
like a
reckon.
big
I think it
Texan.
might be a bit tight. Be a bit tight for me.
Big, loud Texan.
Yeah.
A little bit
tight.
of J.R. Ewing.
Yeah.
A little bit of JR.
Oh.
I'm a massive Dallas fan from when that was on TV. I watched every episode.
So you could be the J.R. Ewing of podcasts all around Australia.
Right, yeah.
Well,
He is. He's got a bit of Machiavellian type of...
Just put another zero on the check and I can be anybody.
It all comes back to food and money.
Food and money. Yeah. And now we've had a few comments on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Complete drivel, someone
Drivel,
wrote
wasn't
last
it?
week, which was nice.
Well, that's okay.
And someone said that you're an idiot, Mr. Pete.
Did they?
So I like that one. And
Well, that just goes straight through to wherever without
Straight to
even,
the
don't even
keeper?
worry about it. Yep, wouldn't even worry about it. They can, people say what they want
Yep.
on YouTube. Got a lot of on Facebook. I've got a lot of positive feedback.
Oh, no, so have
But
I.
I don't care if it's negative, positive. I want people to just say what they want. That's okay. They're entitled to
It's a
their opinion.
democracy.
Isn't
It
it?
is a democracy. There's only one of them. There's only one of them.
One of you? There's only one of you.
I'm presenting product to the listening audience and the viewing audience.
And we're just trying to
I'm
steer you in a
providing
direction that
product.
everybody
Some
can
of them are
understand it.
coming- Some of them are coming back with vociferous remarks.
Yeah, which is
But I
great.
think the
That's
Stetson
terrific.
idea's got legs.
I do too.
I really
Did
do.
you wear it next week?
Can you bring it?
If it fits me, I'll bring it down.
Yeah.
I'm happy to put on, but I won't be able to.
Fantastic.
I won't have as much energy because it does restrict blood flow. And
Well, you actually might start making some sense.
Where do you put it? It's supposed to go on your head.
I don't know. It's going my way here, of course.
Now,
Yeah,
Peter.
I was on another point there.
Oh.
I never got to
I thought you were
finish
going
off
to
and
say
now
you're on
forgotten.
another planet.
Yeah. What point? What was the other point?
The other point I've forgotten about, Phil, because
that's
we've
good.
been
Peter,
too busy going
I'd
off
like
on
to
tangents
ask
here.
you-
There's more tangents here than you'd find on Pythagoras' theorem.
Yeah, exactly. About that's the Greek.
Nathan Buckley, that's the thing we're on about. He will survive in my book. Because
There we
they
go.
just won't get rid of him yet. He'll get another opportunity next year to, if he gets them knocking on the door of the 8 or in the 8 next year, he survives another 2-3 years. Simple as that. Because
won't.
they've invested in him. They've
Let's
invested,
put
and they've
money on
invested
it.
in his list.
We're going to ring sports bet, and I'm telling you, by the end for next year, if he doesn't do any good next year, he is GONE.
They were third on the list, the AFL injury ladder. They were third. They've had a massive number of injuries, and if you've got prime stock yet, even Pendlebury's playing tonight. I don't know whether he's fully fit. but
Well,
he's
same
going
as the
around.
Richmond bloke. If the Richmond bloke doesn't do something next year, he is GONE gone
Well, they're
too.
about number 6 or 7 on the injury
Yep,
list. I
fair
think.
call.
Doesn't
They're about
matter,
six.
mate.
fair
mate,
call.
yeah,
But they're
100%.
they've been successful everywhere except on the ground. That club, it's been unbelievable. They cannot get wins on the board or make the finals. Now maybe that team has reached its zenith, that they've found out that maybe 10 or 12 of that list can't get them above 5th on the ladder.
Maybe.
Now if that's the case, they've got to make that decision. It's a big decision, gentlemen.
Right, have you finished?
Troy and Peter. Well, they should give us a bit of feedback on that. Should Richmond get
Go,
rid of half
Pete.
a dozen to up to a dozen players at the end of this year, or what do they do? Peter, you go first, then Troy.
I think there's a definite list management, serious strategic discussion needs to be made at the end of the year. A very, very honest and brutal assessment of their list moving forward. And I think they need to have clarity in terms of the direction of they're taking to the supporters for the buy-in. Otherwise, those supporters are going to blow up that club. I tell you, they'll go nuts.
Well, I know a lot of...
And I don't know. I'm not paid enough to, nor do I care enough about the Richmond Football Club to make it that close of an assessment on their list.
Yeah.
I'll leave that to the powers that be, the experts, as you call them.
Yeah.
But I'm
Risk
sure
management.
they will make those brutal decisions and move on accordingly.
Troy?
It's all about list management. They've actually re-signed Hampson, and they've re-signed Lloyd, who I really like the look of Lloyd.
Yeah.
He's a very, very dangerous
Yeah,
around
middle of the
goal,
list, yep.
and I think that's a very good signing. So they obviously in the off season they need some serious. Their spine worries me, so they need some key position players, but who doesn't?
Well, they've got to keep doing better deals than the Yarran deal, and they've got to start nailing those deals. They've made they're probably over the course of the draft system since its inception, probably they've been the worst performing. Some of their choices have just been absolutely comical and cringeworthy.
And
from the days of Bannock and Lounder to the days of giving up Pavlich for Fiora, to the days of not picking Buddy Franklin. It's extraordinary. How if they got those right, they'd be we'd be talking differently.
Yeah, but I think there's stories like that, Coco, in most teams, the ones that got away, but more pronounced with Richmond.
When
That's
you
what
don't
you're
come
saying.
through, yeah.
I think they're one of the few clubs that have actually worked against the system. The system allows every team over a 16 to 20 year cycle to have a window of top four opportunities in that 20 year cycle. They've actually worked against the system. They're one of the few that have actually done that badly that the system, they haven't had that window.
Yeah, do you know they've had 18 first-round draft picks currently on that list? GWS have got 21, and look how they're going, and look at Richmond's 18. So now it's time for Mr. Troy Zantuck and yesterday's heroes.
Thank you, Peaky. Today in focus, another one of the great full forwards, Geelong and North Melbourne icon, a master of the torpedo. Of course, I'm talking about Douglas Graham Wade. Born in Horsham, Victoria in 1941, he would play his junior football for Horsham in the WFL. In 1961, Wade would make his debut for Geelong, playing 16 games and kicking an impressive 51 goals. Wade's list of goal-kicking achievements is absolutely phenomenal. 4-time Coleman Medal winner, 62, he kicked 68. In 1967, 96. In 69, 127. And in 1974, 103. 11-time Geelong's leading goal kicker, 3-time North Melbourne leading goal kicker, a club member with Coventry, Dunstall, Ablett and Lockett. We all know it as the 1,000-plus club. Team achievements include the Cats' 1963 flag, the Kangas' 1975 inaugural flag, and he is a member of the Geelong Team of the Century. In 1972, the 10-year rule was introduced, which saw Essendon's Barry Davis, South Melbourne's John Rantel and Doug Wade join North Melbourne in 1973. Wade would kick 73 goals in his first season with North and 103 in 1974, which saw the Kangas finish runner-up to the Tigers. It was a close call on 1975 grand final eve for Doug Wade. Leading up to the game, he was down on form, and it was a toss-up between Robert Smith and himself for that coveted full forward position in that 1975 grand final team. Wade got the nod and booted 4 goals. He played full forward and the rest is history. In 1996, Doug Wade was inducted into the AFL Hall of Fame, and just for the record, he played 208 games for Geelong, 834 goals from 61 to 72. North Melbourne, he played 59 games for 223 goals from 73 to 75. Douglas Graham Wade, one of the greatest full forwards of all time, we salute you.
Yeah, well said.
Well done.
Well said, yep. And was he, Peter, I don't know whether you saw much of, you'd have to see it on video, I'd imagine, but he was arguably probably the best torpedo kick. Certainly amongst full forwards, he was the best torpedo of a full forward consistently than you could ever wish to see. He was in a controversial incident in round 18 of 1966 or 7 when he was, I think, lining up to have a shot for goal, and a woman who supported the opposition team, I think North Melbourne, hit, as he dropped the ball to his boot, hit the ball with an apple. She threw an apple over the fence and hit the ball, and it skewed off his foot, went out of bounds, and they lost the game.
Really?
In that particular incident.
When was that?
That was in about 66 or 67.
Extraordinary.
Hit the ball, and that put them out of business. I think it might have been 66. I'm not sure. They still made the finals in those 2 years, but I don't know whether it affected the positioning at the finish. And he also was in a controversial incident in the preliminary final of 1962. Doesn't tell you anything in the yearbook about it, but I think that game Geelong lost by 5 points, but they reckon the last couple of minutes that the full back, it might have been Lofts, whoever it was it Lofts, was hanging onto his trunks, and he never got the free kick. Peter Barry or Wes Lofts, one or the other, hanging onto his trunks, but never got that free. So he's in a couple of controversial situations along the way, but what a phenomenal player for both Geelong and North.
Also involved in the lifestyle fitness,
Yes.
the gymnasiums.
The gyms, yeah. Mm.
And just an absolute legend of the game. And I also enjoyed his commentary, Coco, way back with Channel 7, with Jack Edwards and Bobby Skilton.
Yeah.
On World of Sport.
Hey, on World of Sport, yeah.
I remember him. I remember him
He
well.
was succinct, Doug. He also had the unfortunate incident in the 68 first semi against St Kilda when he took a grab around about the centre forward position when Geelong was starting to get control and cop one late from Big Carl in the head from behind.
So three memories of Doug, and they're all negative. And
I've actually mentioned, just on that,
Grim
Coco,
Reaper.
I've mentioned
Dr. Death
four
strikes
of the
again.
greatest full forwards of all time.
Yeah.
And 3 out of the 4 have been, just let's say, they've bumped into Carl Dittrich along the way. So we're going at a 75% success rate, and I'm pretty happy with that.
Now, Coco, we were talking. I wanted to ask you before you interrupted interrupting while I was talking
What did I interrupt
about
you,
the soccer.
yes.
Yes, and here is our soccer report with Mr. Peter Cacodus.
Yes.
Life
Life has meaning again as of this weekend. English Premier League comes back on after, a nice break. And
Who are we barracking for?
Sorry?
Who are we going to barrack
I'm a
for?
lifelong Liverpool Football Club supporter.
A Liverpudlian.
Yeah,
I'm
Liverpudlian.
with Coco.
Yeah, what about you?
Glory days of
What
the,
about you, Green
Liverpudlians.
Monster?
Yeah, I'm a lifelong Scouser.
What about you, Green Monster?
I'm a Southampton Saints fan.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously correlates with his St Kilda. Yeah.
Oh.
I have no idea about Southampton, but do you?
Do they wear the same
Yeah.
jersey?
There's
Do
no
they?
correlation in the NFL. Where I'm a
the
Los
same
Angeles
jumper?
Raiders fan, or Oakland Raiders fan.
Do they wear the same jumper?
No, not
they
really.
do.
It's just
Oh.
the Saints thing. So
Oh.
I've got it
Yeah,
right.
Okay,
Southampton
got
Saints, but I'm
But,
in American football. I'm Oakland Raiders.
Well,
That's strange because there's a team called the New Orleans Saints.
Saints, there is. I know. I don't follow. I'm not true to form there with the
No.
world coverage.
You've actually bucked the system.
I have. Yeah.
Go figure.
Coco.
Okay, yeah. you're
yeah,
still
so
there.
the English Premier League starting, and the transfer activity over the European summer has been nothing short of extraordinary. And when you have a player, a defensive midfielder, albeit an elite, top class defensive midfielder in Paul Pogba going for $105 million, a player that's not, normally breaking the record. It's extraordinary. I mean, we're talking a defensive midfielder, central, obviously extremely powerful and influential, but not a creator, not a goal scorer. It just sets the trend of the sort of money, the extraordinary money that's going on in English football. It's an exciting year. The world class managers that have been attracted to the game is something extremely fascinating to watch. You've got the best Italian coach, Antonio Conte, who's been winning everything at Juventus, who's gone to Chelsea. You've got Klopp that went to probably the best German coach going to Liverpool mid-season last year. You've got the best Spanish coach in Guardiola, Pepe Guardiola, a legend of Barcelona, who's gone to Man City. And now you've got the special one, Jose Mourinho, taking over the reins at United to try and get them back to their lofty heights of Sir Alex days. So that's going to be an extraordinary thing to see. It's an amazing league. It's you can just there's about 6 clubs now that are that can possibly win it. Man City picked up John Stones from Everton overnight, so that's a massive signing for them, and I think that's strengthened the odds as favourites. Him slipping into centre back, which is what they needed. So a lot of money spent in the city of Manchester through United and City. So United picked up Pogba, as I said. They picked up the Armenian Henrik Mkhitaryan, who's a super player. Liverpool picked up Sadio Mane from Southampton, your team. Peaky. And Jorginho Wijnaldum from Newcastle. Chelsea picked up N'Golo Kante from Leicester. Arsenal have been a little bit quiet. They picked up the midfielder Xhaka. They need another striker. So everyone's strengthened. It's going to be extraordinary. I think, the Manchester teams have really put their hands up. They've shown they've invested heavily, so they're going to be both strong. Chelsea, of course, with Conte are going to be formidable. Liverpool not having Europe is going to fall in their favour, so they're going to be able to focus on the league. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. Their top 4 aspirations are going to be strong. So it's going to be interesting. I think the game of the round will be Arsenal versus Liverpool at Arsenal's ground. So I'll be definitely staying up for that one, Monday morning, 1 a.m. So that's going to be really interesting. And I think Everton-Tottenham will also be another great game. And Everton have obviously they've got a new billionaire taking over there, so they're starting to flex some muscle as well. So looking forward to it, boys.
And just on Pogba, Coco, his second stint at Manchester United.
Yeah, extraordinary. He was let go for free, and he's come back as an elite player. He was dominating in Italy for Juventus, and they spent 105 million. So they had him, they let him go, and they've spent 105 to get him back.
And the Leicester fairy tale last year, where do you expect them to finish this season?
Realistically, I expect them to be between 5 and 10th. They've got Europe to contend with. They've got...
and those the big 4 clubs, there's been some fantastic signings, so they'll only be bolstered this year. Your Arsenals, Liverpool,
big time,
Chelsea, Man United, Man City.
The analogy of Leicester would be like a bit Steve Bradbury, like all the clubs fell in a coma last year. There just was one of those one-offs. You won't see that. Could go another 50 years before you see that again. They've got Europe to contend with. They've lost N'Golo Kante. Mahrez is being courted by Arsenal. If they lose him as well, it's going to be tough. I mean, they can live off that for a lifetime, what they've done.
Okay.
Righto. Let's move on to this round.
Teams, and then we'll have music at the end of the show with our musical director, Mr. Philip Hill, and myself with Here Comes the Sun, singing about Kylie Charles. Now, the Western Bulldogs, they're playing Collingwood tonight. Eddie had their in for the Bulldogs, Suckling Echoes.
What time?
Oh, sorry?
What time?
What time? Oh, the time, sorry, yes. 7:50 p.m.
PMI.
At Etihad Stadium tonight, Philip, sorry. There, and that should be a very good game. I mentioned the Bulldogs in there, Suckling comes back. In for Collingwood, Goldsack, Oxley, Maud, Goey and Phillips out. Goes Reid with a knee, Cox with a shoulder, that's the big American boy out. Crocker with concussion, Williams and Cloak dropped for the 3rd time this year. I said on SEN last night that if another club was interested in him, Essendon maybe, where they would plant him in the forward pocket next to Danaher and help with his forward development for a couple of years. That could turn out to be another Brereton Severio Rocker move of 21 years ago. That would be my theory. Gentlemen, start with you, Peter. Western Bulldogs, Collingwood. I
think Bulldogs, after a fantastic victory last week, even though they'd like to get a couple more back, they should win this game. They've got a bit to play for, and they'll take the chocolates.
Yes, Troy?
Yeah, Western Bulldogs, Etihad specialists. Fantastic performance last week against North Melbourne. Collingwood down on confidence last week after their defeat at the hands of Richmond. the Bulldogs to ground out a win 4 to 6 goals.
Yeah, Bulldogs for mine, possibly more like 10 to 12 goals. Collingwood have finished. Collingwood just really struggling. Unless they really play for their coach tonight, they're going to find themselves in desperation trouble. Moore coming back will help, but he can't do it all on his own. And that forward line structure, which how did White keep his spot as well after last week? That's one that people are making a big comment about around the traps. Brisbane Lions play Carlton up at the Gabba at 1:45pm tomorrow. There in comes Martin Close, Jansen and Cutler. Out goes Green with a foot, Robertson with a knee, Shash with General Soreness and Dawson. That's Al Dawson. In for Carlton, Liam Jones for another crack at it. Cunningham. Out goes Walker, retired, who unfortunately in his last game was part of a flogging by St Kilda. And Nick Graham and the new man David Cunningham from Lakely Chargers, Pete.
I just got a gut feel. There's no logic to it, but I just got a gut feel Brisbane might win this.
Yeah,
They're playing at home. Carlton, travelling. They were very poor last week, and I think they might have put a lot of effort into some of those losses that they had against top teams. And I just got a gut feeling Brisbane just might get up.
Yeah, Troy?
Carlton, 6 to 8 goals.
Well, then Troy's tipping a massive psychological recovery by Carlton after their flogging on the MCG. I'm concerned about them. I think that they've had a fairly big year. They brought some kids along, and their coach has been reasonably successful so far, and he's what they want. But they're leaving everything up to Cripps. Cripps did everything last week for them. Armfield chipped in occasionally, and Silvani will be a player. But Casbold up forward, by golly, if anyone needs Pete Hudson or Doug Wade down there to teach him how to kick, he's the one. So I reckon Brisbane can roll them, and this is their big opportunity. Hawthorn v North at the MCG tomorrow, 2:10pm. In fact, I can get to that game, and I will be at it. In comes Frawley, Puopolo, Shields, Hartung and Burton. But they lose Stratton with a pectoral strain, which could be a year-ending injury. They take a long time to repair. Sicily's suspended. O'Rourke's out. O'Brien, Heatherley all dropped, and the new boys Ryan Burton from North Adelaide. They're blooding a new recruit now. In comes Hanson and Nahas, and out goes Clark rested and McKenzie, Peter.
So Brown is in. I thought he was injured.
Brown
for North Melbourne. I thought he was injured.
Brown for North is.
So he got in.
Is out? No, there's no Brown. Brown is not mentioned. Brown's in the team.
Yeah, I thought he was injured.
Well, he's recovered.
So did I.
So he's made a miraculous recovery. That still won't help him. Hawthorn will win because they're too good.
Yeah, well, they've got some good players back, Troy.
I think this will be a really, really close game, Coco. I think Hawthorn will be stung by last week's loss to Melbourne, and they absolutely cannot afford to drop this game. So it's a high-stakes game, this one, so Hawthorn by 2 to 3 goals.
Yeah, Troy's hit the nail on the head. Now, just imagine the situation. If North lose this, that decision comes out at 10 to 5. And St Kilda Sydney, of course, playing at Etihad tomorrow night, which we'll get to that game in a minute. But if North lose this, and of course St Kilda roll Sydney, the next 2 weeks, there's going to be some sweat produced because it's going to be game on. GWS Giants v the West Coast there at Spotless. In comes Kennedy, Seedle, Kennedy. Out goes Himmelberg. That's Harrison Himmelberg, who's being managed. Reid and Wilson. In comes Butler for West Coast. Out goes Nelson. Peter.
GWS by a substantial amount.
I agree with you. Troy?
Ditto.
I would say that I'm expecting Gervais to win that game between 10 to 15 goals. GWS. West Coast, really, if you could play the season 25 weeks and not 22, St Kilda and Melbourne would make the 8, and West Coast and North probably drop out. But West Coast would be one of the ones that would definitely go. And for a team that played in the grand final this year, they've received no massive criticism in the eastern suburban journalists. No one's getting stuck in or not. They give it to Buckley.
Well, they're under the blowtorch in Western Australia, let me tell you.
Well, they'd have to be over there. If anyone didn't know, I tipped Hawthorn to beat North 2 in that other game by probably 2 to 3 goals, just to let you know that. St Kilda v Sydney at Etihad tomorrow night in a crucial game. 7:25pm. Mind you, North could get beaten and St Kilda get beaten, and there's still 100 to 1 chance there of St Kilda getting in. St Kilda v Sydney, in comes McCartan and out goes Dunstan with a shoulder. The milestone game, Robertson, 100 games and no change in Sydney. When you see just one change by a coach at this time of year, when you're on the cusp of the 8, you know he's going to stick with what he's got. His top 22, 23 players there. Peter first, there you go.
McCartan's a massive in. Scored 5 goals for Sandringham last week. He's going to make that forward line extremely potent. Bad luck to Dunstan, his season's gone. And well done to Robin. He's been magnificent for St Kilda. Got him for steak knife, so 100 games. Well done. I'm very excited about this game. Implored all St Kilda supporters to get to the ground because this one's. Who would have thought we'd be playing, at this stage of the year and still be relevant? So I'm, obviously I'm going to go for my Saints. I haven't digressed from backing them most weeks in the last 8 weeks, and more times than not, I've been right when the experts have been wrong. So I'll stick with St Kilda.
Okay.
Yes, this I'm tipping will be the game of the round. St Kilda, everything to play for. Sydney, a possibility of claiming top spot. So it's sheep stations, let me tell you that one. St Kilda, what a great effort last week against the Blues. What about Sydney's demolition of Port Adelaide last week? I'm tipping a 2-goal victory. The Swans in an absolute thriller.
Well, I expected that. That's fair enough because Sydney are favourites. They're $1.30, St Kilda $3.65. So,
what's your expert opinion?
Me. I'm going for St Kilda, a 1 to 2 goal victory because they do play Etihad better than anybody. They know that the players now are probably match hardened enough to know that they've got a massive opportunity here. And Alan Richardson, you don't have to read between the lines, he wants to make the 8 this year. He would love to get some finals experience into this young group at this point in time. Leading into next year would assist him with his coaching, remarkably. And McCartan backs a big plus because he's now in our best 22. We need him up front. Bruce will keep doing all the donkey work and the hack work that he's been doing. He's been doing a marvellous job doing that, I might say. And, of course, the other boy, Wright's been doing a fair bit of that too. So there's plenty of, St Kilda, a blue-collar team, when it's all said and done, they put their shoulder to the wheel and they're tackling pressure, and the way they squeeze teams in that environment is very Ross Lyon-like in a way. Port Adelaide v Melbourne. In comes Lobb, O'Shea and Palmer. Out goes Paul Stewart, Butcher and Archie, and the new boys Jesse Palmer from North Ballarat. In for Melbourne, they get Hogan back, but lose young Wiedemann, who filled in for him at full forward last week with a quadricep there, Peter.
I think Port should win at home. I'm not convinced Melbourne can travel to Adelaide and put in a consistent performance at this stage. They've still got a bit of, a little bit of growth evolving to do before I start backing them away from home.
Truly.
It makes a lot of sense, Coco, but I thought it was a defining moment in Melbourne's growth. Last week against Hawthorn, their confidence levels will be sky high. Port Adelaide coming off an embarrassing loss last week against the Sydney Swans. That's a real downer. At home, they're always dangerous, but I'm tipping Melbourne in it, and again another close one, 2 to 3 goals. And Hogan in, a massive in, and Petrarca, a superstar of the future. Yeah,
look, Melbourne to me, they have come of age. Most people thought a few weeks ago that Melbourne were more advanced than St Kilda. I don't see that situation. I see them being close to equal with St Kilda a little bit in front because St Kilda's beaten them twice this year. So, but Port Adelaide, they've been terrible. Let's face it. I mean, their form has been up and down, yo-yo like the whole year. And what's going on there? Where's the coach with the players? We don't know. But to me, Melbourne they can win this. They've got to prove that they're on the up, and hopefully they can do it. Essendon play Gold Coast there at the Etihad Stadium Sunday, 1:10 p.m. in Stoke. Simpkin, Hams, Redmond, Long. That's Michael Long's son, Jake Long. Great to see him make his debut. Fantasia and Langford. Out goes Dempsey with a string. Goddard's got a groin. Francis with a calf, and Parrish rested. The new boy, Jake Long, that's the extended bench. He's a Scotch College boy too, I might add. In for the Gold Coast come Brooksby. I mentioned him because they've got an excellent training program, schooling and also sport there, so he gets the full shebang. In comes Brooksby. Is that Brooksby? It is Brooksby. Cameron, Tape, Sard and Hall. Aaron Hall, a big in. Out goes Nichols with a knee, Sexton with a quad, and Lynch plays his 100th game for the Gold Coast there, Peter, to kick us off.
Well, probably go for Gold Coast. Better side. Geez, that Lynch, I tell you what, he's an absolute ripper. At the moment, he's put his hand up in all that generation of young forwards that are coming through. He's put his hand up as numero uno for me at this stage. So, sorry? Yeah, he's starting to hit his peak. Yep. So Gold Coast for me.
Peter? Sorry, Troy?
Yeah, Gold Coast comfortably peaky. Half a dozen goals.
Yeah, you'd have to look at Gold Coast. They're looking at finals next year, and they've had a lot of injuries this year, and they're getting players back with that side with Lynch back in and Hall or whatever. You'd have to think they're going to win that fairly comfortably, and you'd have to say 8 to 10 goals is where it's at. If they, given the problems that Essendon has had, Richmond are playing Geelong in a crucial match on the MCG for two reasons. One, for Richmond to try and finish their season off with some sort of bang, with some massive discussions coming up at the end of the year about their list, and Geelong, who are trying to get a top 4 spot. Ruggles coming in, Kirsten, McCarthy, Kolajasny and Lang out, Mackie, Maddiston, Menzel with a groin. Geelong starting to manage boys at this time of year for finals coming up. Griffiths is out for Richmond, and in comes Edwards, Lambert, Elton and Lennon. So, gee whiz, Richmond musical club with Elton and Lennon coming in. Peter?
Geelong will win. I know we're running out of time, but I really... Sorry? Yeah, it's all right.
He's just complimenting on my
your musical
Elton
knowledge.
And Lennon coming in for Richmond.
Outstanding comment there, Stephen.
Thank you,
Geelong will win this game. I know we're running out of time, but I really would be interested to know whether you guys rate Geelong as a premiership chance. But yeah,
10 goals.
10 goals.
10 goals Geelong, I'd say the same. 10 goals. I think they'll obliterate Richmond. Fremantle v Adelaide in the last game at Subiaco Sunday. I won't do the ins and outs, but boys, what do you say?
Crows.
Yeah, Adelaide for me. Yeah, have to win. And now it's time for the music, ladies and gentlemen, with Mr. Philip Hill. Thank you, boys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Peter. They will now leave the podium. And, of course, the music will now commence. And here comes the sun, the Kylie Chalmers sun, over at Rio, Brazil. Little Kylie, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little Kylie, it feels like years since we've won gold. Here comes Brett's son, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes Port's favourite son, doo-doo-doo-doo. And I say, it's all right. Little Kylie, the smiles returning to the faces. Little Kylie, it feels like years since we won gold. Here comes Brett's son, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes Port's son, doo-doo-doo-doo. And I say, it's all right. Son, 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 here he comes. Son, 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 USA almost done. Son, 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 here he comes. Son, 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 USA almost done. Son, here Kylie comes. Son, little Kylie, it feels like USA are melting. A little Kylie, it feels like years since gold's been won. Here comes the sun, Port Adelaide sun. Here comes the sun, Port Adelaide sun, it's all right. Here comes the sun, Port Adelaide sun, it's all right. Son, son, he Kylie comes. Son, 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 it's Brett's son, Kylie Chalmers. Son, 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 Kylie comes.